Okay, so we're back, and this week we're looking at not the best card in Smash Up, but the worst card in Smash Up. So we've completely gone, we've done a full 180. Well, full 180. We've done a 180 here. So now we're considering a completely different sort of set of criteria and how we think about cards and how we rate cards. And as I say, we're looking at some of the truly worst cards in Smash Up. And what we did was we each drew up a short list of cards, and any card that made it in all three of our lists then made the shortlist, and that just happened to be 8. So that was a really good number. But before we start, we'll just do one honourable mention each for cards that didn't make the shortlist. And just for reference, I suppose, I didn't put any Munchkin cards on my shortlist, which is why you're probably not seeing any here, just because, as you'll have known from watching the Munchkin video, I don't own Munchkins. So my experience of the cards was quite limited. So I didn't feel like I could make an assessment as to how good something was. So for me, the honourable mention goes to Tooth and Claw and Guns, because that is the error card in Smash Up. It's the card when you think of a bad card, you think of Tooth and Claw and Guns. And it's notorious for being horrendously worded, being errated, and still being problematic even since the errata. So for me, it's Tooth and Claw and Guns from the Dinosaurs, a good old core set card. And there were quite a lot of cards from core set that were weaker. Core set definitely had some of the strongest cards as well as some of the weakest cards in the game. So Lee, what about you?
Yeah, there was always going to be that, wasn't there, in the first initial print? So that definitely is a really good honourable mention. I know it made my list as well as we were talking about things, but one of the ones that never made it on the list for me is the deep ones from the Innsmouth faction. It always really annoys me because I always really want to use that card for something because you're really excited. You've got loads of power 2 minions. The sort of locals ability itself kind of wants or actively adds the 2 power minions to a base, but I always feel myself wanting to use the deep ones and never being able to use it because it only lasts, that tiny power creep effect only lasts until the end of the turn. So it made the list for me for being, it was interesting because just as Mark was saying, we had to completely change our criteria for what makes a good card good or what makes a bad card bad. And so as much as I really wanted to put Monarch on this list, I didn't bring myself to that sort of standard. I was trying to think about what is it that makes a bad card bad. And to me, one of the biggest criteria, and I'm sure we'll get into this as we're talking about things, was a card that just can't be played for any positive effect. And the deep ones for me is like the epitome of that card, because it should do something really good in its faction, but it just can't be used ever. You'll never break a base for the deep ones. Or if you do, I mean, well done to you, like serious well done to you. But of all the times I've played in Innsmouth, and I have played Innsmouth quite a few times, I've never been able to bop a base using deep ones.
Yeah, and the deep ones is a great example because it's so much worse than other cards that do the same thing. Like, why did they have that power 2 restriction on it? It's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, completely.
Luke?
Yeah, so for me, as I was looking through every card, I noticed a couple of things. How many filler cards there are. So filler, just cards that are repeated loads of times across loads of sets. And there's 2 main ones that are just absolute filler in my eyes. One that says move this minion to another base, and another one says remove a play on minion action or play on base action. Just absolute fodder that can just go out of this game. Just okay, we've got 17 cards drawn up. I'll tell you what, 2 movement cards and 1 remove play on base action. So that is in there a lot. But my honorable mention is trade from the elves. Basically taking a card from someone else's hand, putting it into at random, putting it into your hand and putting trade in their hand, and then taking an extra action. And it sounds fine on paper, but what happens is you give it to someone, you take one of their cards, they do it straight back to you next turn, or they do it and every single turn involves, okay, I'm going to play trade. Right, I'll play trade. And you just get stuck in this endless, pointless loop of just nicking someone's card for a bit. And it absolutely ruins the game.
Sometimes you strike gold.
Yeah, but you have to take
no one ever strikes gold.
You literally just go around in circles. If you strike gold, they spend their time trying to strike that gold back from you. It's just...
There's another card very reminiscent of trade in Sheep, which is Wood for Sheep, where you take a card from their hand, you give them a card as well, which is another similar sort of card. So let's get straight into the first pairing. I think they're all very good honourable mentions, but we'll jump straight into the shortlist then of the 8.
Oh God, what is this? Just get it off the screen. What is this?
2 very strong cards for the to win this competition. I think. First.
Yeah, it's a good pair, isn't it? One thing I do notice, Mark, is I can't see Body Shop anywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
I thought we had that on this list.
There's a Body Shop VLIs around.
Oh God!
See which one takes it.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I'm upset that you got in with that joke first.
Yeah, you were.
I was saying, I'd literally written "There goes Tokyo" on the back of my hand. Or Eliza, depending on which one of you was
definitely Eliza. I should have got Eliza. I should have gone for Eliza. Damn.
Okay, who wants to kick us off then? Rather than which one is the best card, which one is the worst card?
It's such a weird way to argue. I don't mind starting. I'll start. Okay, so let's look at Teleporter Error first. Good card art. Not a great faction set. Choose a minion, move it to another base. There's one of them filler cards, Luke, that you were just talking about.
This is even worse. This is even worse than Luke's filler card.
Not only is it just a filler card, it's a filler card that you can't actually control at all. It's going to get moved to another random base, and oh my God, just how. That's not a good. That's just infuriating as a skill. But as much as we could talk a little bit about how nothing is accomplished by playing Teleporter Error, let's just have a look at Pewpox for a second, shall we? or Pukepox, as I believe I wrote it down when we put it into the thing. Oh my gosh, what on earth were they thinking when they wrote this talent? We have spent, I don't know how many weeks have been doing this for now. A lot of weeks we've spent doing this now, where we have been talking about the benefit of gaining a VP. The Invader is in the final as a power 3 minion. It's in the next round of the finals. Spoilers from the initial rounds. We've not actually filmed the next round yet, but just on the merit of the fact that when you play, you get a VP, and Pewpox is trying to allow you to lose a VP to reveal some cards. I'm sorry, boys. I don't know how any other card can win this. The worst card in Smash Up. This is the worst card I have seen in a card game.
I'm gonna make a case here. Potentially controversially, I'm gonna go for Teleport Error.
Interesting.
Ooh,
now
very controversial.
I do think Pewpox stinks. I think it's awful. I think if you ask me what the worst card in Smash Up is, I would say this. But having looked at it since we've started compiling our list, the benefit of Pewpox is you can play it down and get a 2-power minion.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is
true.
You
can do nothing else and get a 2-power minion. Teleport Error, the most you can do is move a minion off the base. That's all you're getting. You're not getting the choice of which. When I talked about the honourable mentions of all the cards you can move, not only do you not control where it goes, you have to do a stupid thing where you pick up all the bases and shuffle them together to decide how it's going to be random, or roll a dice, or do something stupid. So there's just no point playing it. There's just no point playing it at all. So no one would ever in their right mind use that talent, I don't think.
The next time we play,
unless you're the most desperate person in the world. If you're so desperate, you get you 1 point off winning, and you're about to win a 3-point base, and you go for it because you might nick it. But then you've got to watch out for the person behind you getting 2 points and taking the game. So it's just so bad. I wouldn't, if the reward for losing the victory point were fantastic, it'd be worth it. There will be a point where losing a victory point is worth it, but this is so far away from that. Drawing the top 3 cards, basically 3 random cards to some extent. Okay, some of the Star Wars, some of the Astro Knights, things like you look at the top cards and things like that, but pull out 3 cards, draw them, and then play 1 as additional card. It better be a damn good card that you're pulling out. It better be. If you're not pulling Invader out of this card for a net gain of 0 victory points, then there's no point doing it.
3 extra power on the base.
So my vote is actually for Teleport Error because it does even if you play the flaw of Pupox is that you get a 2 power minion. The flaw on teleport area is you move something off a base, and that is garbage. So I am going to go for teleport area, but I think if you were to use Pupox and its talent, it is way worse. But because the talent is optional, I think teleport area takes it for me.
Thing is, you can pair astronauts with werewolves and use Pupox talent twice in a turn with Grey Wolf Spirit if you really wanted to.
Yeah, if the first 3 cards are good enough.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And actually, you're right in terms of Pupox does benefit from the deep ones. It can get buffed by the deep ones, so it's another target for that.
Oh my.
He is finding the silver lining in all of these.
The absolute dream situation is if you're on 14 victory points and you can't win on your turn, apart from the fact you've got 2 invaders on the top of your deck and you use Pupox, you play one for 1 VP and then you play the other from hand for 2 VP for the win. It's like the dream situation. That's the best case scenario for Pupox, I think. For me, it's going to be Pupox going through because it's just absolutely horrendous card. It's just a blank, power 2 minion, basically.
Right. It's worse. It's worse than a blank 2 power minion.
Well, yeah. In fact, yeah, exactly. You could accidentally use the talent, and that would make it way worse.
Because you better be sure in one of our games, if you even made a joke about using its talent, we'd be making use of talent. So
you use the word talent, so that means you.
Yeah, that's true.
Teleport Arrow does have some uses, and I suppose the uses for me in a 2-player game, it's a better card because you've only got 2 other bases you can move it to. So. That's 1 plus for it in 2-player. It's not terrible. You can choose you or your opponent, so it's a bit flexible in that sense. And if your sole purpose is to, let's say you're breaking a base and one person's got 1 minion on it, and all you need to do is get them off the base, then it doesn't matter where they end up. You actually, there is some use there. The card is mostly thematic. It's just a thematic play on Star Trek, but and it's great for that, but it does have some uses, as I say. If your sole purpose is to get a minion from one base off that base, whether that's yours or your opponent's, then Teleport Error will do that. So for me, it has its uses, even though it's quite niche. Whereas Pupox, it's just horrendous. Pupox is a great target for Heavy Drinker, which we're going to be talking about next. So yeah, for me, it's Pupox. I think that's 2 for 1.
Yeah, fine. I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Both, you made some good. To be fair, Luke, you made some really good arguments. But yeah, Marky said some good stuff too. That was the Battle of the Stars.
Yeah, we should have put that near the end. That was the big one. I think. That's what everyone came here to see.
I mean, we've got some horrendous matchups coming up as well.
Yeah.
God, this is disgusting as well. All of the cards we've been talking about recently. Look at the state of the art as well.
Right, I'll kick us off on this because I'm going to use the same sort of argument for laser tops later, which is you might, as Luke just said there, the minion can be played just as a vanilla minion. You don't have to use the ability. But for me, the reason why this card and why laser tops are such horrendous cards is that your minions should be advancing your game plan, and they should be really good plays. And a power 3, look at some of the power 3s in the game, look how good they are for their faction. Laser tops, your power 4 minion should be one of your stronger minions. You've only got 2 of them in most cases, so they should really be positive plays. And if they're effectively just blank power 3s or 4s, that to me makes them one of the most horrendous cards in the game, because as I say, the text on them should be beneficial for you, and it should be driving home your strategy and helping you win the game. And for laser tops coming up as well, but for this, that ability is just absolutely horrendous. You may destroy one of your minions to place a +1 power counter on this minion. In the vast majority of cases, it's going to be a net -1 because most likely you're going to be destroying a power 2 minion. So you're actually putting yourself back by 1 power and 1 minion presence, because the number of minions can help for some of those cards that buff up the power of all of your minions. So, Heavy Drinker just is not worth that ability at all. There is some minor synergy around the Count in the faction and the Titan that can increase their power and things like that. But this is just one of the worst power 3 minions in the entire game. It's absolutely horrendous. On the other side of the coin, you've got Smoke Bomb, which I think is one of the weakest cards in the entire game, hence why it's here. It's one of those cards where you draw into it and you just look and you think this could have been any other card and I would have been happier than that outcome. It's 1 turn protection against actions. It's not even like all abilities or all cards. It's just actions. So that's already, sort of half the game that's been removed from that. So you've only got protection from sort of half the game, and it's a 1 turn protection. It's so weak, and it takes up your action play just to provide 1 turn protection. There are so few instances where you will be happy to play this card, and where you need to play this card to protect something. It's so unlikely. So for me, I'm actually kind of torn on this pairing. I'll wait to hear what you guys say, and then I'll come back on it, because I genuinely don't know which is the worst card here.
You can't start and then finish by making the deciding vote, Mark. That's not how it works.
They are just both horrendous.
Well, you need to make a decision which is the most horrendous.
He's right.
I'm leaning towards Smoke Bomb.
Good choice. That's where I'm going to. I think the argument was well put forward by Luke in the previous example, where as much as it is annoying, Mark, and I am fully on board with the logic. And I know when we were putting a few of these through, I actually put a few Power 5 minions on the list. Not Monarch for all of the haters out there. But I actually put a few Power 5 minions on the list where I was so infuriated with the lack of a talent that actually it made me want to curse them out on a video like this one. So Heavy Drinker is not getting a pass for being a good minion, because it's not. And the thing that really annoys me is that they could have made the vampires such a better faction. Why doesn't that just be a power 3 minion that says you can destroy any minion and then put a +1 power counter on there? That's what a vampire should do.
Yeah.
It should be able to suck the blood of a T-Rex, shouldn't it? Why can't it do that? I've never seen a vampire film where they turn on each other to get a slight boost. That's just not the way that the vampires work. You don't get that. Just look at any of the good vampire films. Look at Blade. Blade goes around and kills other vampires. He doesn't suck vampires' blood. It's just not what he does. So
it would have been really cool if they had a theme going where half the faction were vampires, half the faction were the non-vampire side of the person or the character. Each character had two different sides to them or something like that. That'd be quite cool.
Well, that would be an interesting Reddit faction. That in the box thing for you.
A night and a day thing or something like that, where they gain certain abilities on certain things and certain abilities. There's so many more things they can do with, rather than just partying vampires. Yeah.
With vampires, they're a cool sort of fictional set of things that you'd be able to build stuff around. That it's a really interesting idea for a faction, and yet they've completely and utterly destroyed it with just useless chuff. Heavy Drinker being one of them, but Smoke Bomb. It's got to be Smoke Bomb's the worst. It's one of the worst cards in the core set. I completely agree, Mark. What are you getting? You draw into a Smoke Bomb and you get nothing for wasting your action turn. It just doesn't do anything, and it disappears at the end of the turn. No, yeah, Smoke Bomb's going through for me.
Yeah, horrendous card. Luke?
Yeah, I agree. They could have, like you said, they could have easily made Heavy Drinker good. If they'd have said destroy, even if you didn't go outside and destroy someone else's minion, you said destroy your minion and put its power on Heavy Drinker, at least you got a net zero. At least you've done something that's tangible. At least you're not going down in power. There's an argument to say that you could do that. And it doesn't even have the old body shop glitch that means you can not destroy it to get protect it and then get the +1 counter. But
there's sorry, Luke, there's a card in. I just remembered it now. There's one of the samurai card, Ronin, which is their power 3, the samurai's power 3. And it just says, if this is your only minion on the base, gain a +1 power counter. So that is the same thing, but you don't have to destroy one of your own minions, basically. That's how bad Heavy Drinker is.
You could pair it with Mad Scientists, and when you destroy Igor, you'll get an extra power counter. But then you're still back to 0, net gain of 0, because you're destroying a power 2 minion for 2 counters. But yeah, it does suck so bad. And if you pardon me, and I agree with what you were saying, Mark. It's so much more detrimental because you're missing out on a good talent or good ability or anything. But the fact that Smoke Bomb literally vanishes into thin air within by the start of your next turn, and even the thingy gaining out of it until it disappears is garbage. So yeah, I think Smoke Bomb. Yeah.
This is better than some of the best card ones I've been enjoying.
The nice thing is that no one feels positively strongly about it. So literally, we can all agree with each other and everything's fine. No one actually has a strong passion for any of these cards.
Speak for yourself, mate. Microbot Guard, sorry, not Alpha. Microbot Alpha wouldn't be on this list. Microbot Guard is coming out. See, I'm just used to talking about good cards.
Right, Luke, you want to start us off on this? Go from bottom to top.
Yeah, the problem is with some of the core set factions is they just worded them slightly not how they should have done. The downside to Microbot Guard is if you're not quite paying attention or if you're fairly new to the game, you might volunteer or be recommended to play robots. And the downside to this is that you could potentially destroy your own because you have no choice to do so, which just makes no sense. Like, imagine being in a situation where you have to destroy, you've got many robots on there and you have to destroy, I don't know, one or two. They often easily get buffed to twos. So you're going to destroy one if you're not paying attention or you're new to this game. So I think it's bad because of the lack of choice. And even the old argument of at least you get its power added to the base is weak here because it's only a power 1. And there's the chance that you have to destroy itself. Or you might be playing him down and having to destroy a power 2. So having said that, I do think it has the option or the chance to be good because it can destroy somebody else's minion. If you've already got a lot of minions, you can actually get rid of a decent minion on their side. Potentially uncapped destruction. Within reason, but not quite as uncapped as something like the Ninja Master, but you could destroy King Rex if you tried hard enough. So I think it does have an upside greater than its downside. Having said that, Call the Week, it's so not worth it. Call the Week is exactly like Pewpox to me. It has an ability, it has the action, and it's not worth it. The downside is so much greater than the upside. Vampires don't have a lot of draw cards. If you discard all your minions, you're in some trouble. And in what world is discarding a 2-power minion or more better to get 1 power counter? In what way is that trade-off good? There is no way that trade-off is good in any way.
I've worked it out. The person that made the vampires was so disgusted by the vampires that he thought anybody who's got these in their hands, not even want to play them. Yeah. I'd rather discard them, even if they were worth 3 powers. I'll just keep discarding them and get a 1 power for them. It's better than playing the next card down. So Colour Will, it's actually a genius card, really, in the grand scheme of things.
It's tough, really, but I am going to go for Colour Week. I think you always want to be playing minions. You don't want to be discarding minions. Discard cards, okay, maybe. Pair it with something like ghosts and maybe you've got something, but I just think the reward for discarding it needed to be a lot higher, or the penalty or what you had to do needed to be a lot lower. If you could there's a better version of this in the Mad Scientist. Angry Mob. That just lets you discard cards.
That return to the bottom of the deck or something. There's Bulking Stew as well, isn't there, for sumos, where you can do the same sort of thing.
But you get in more power. You have choice on what you get rid of. To limit you to have to discard minions is just unnecessary.
Such a bad game.
So I'm going to go for Call the Week.
Good choice.
Easy one for me. Yeah, easy one for me. I agree with Luke entirely. Yeah, there is a scenario where Microbot Guard can have a use, and there is no scenario where Cull the Weak will do anything.
I think the only scenario is if you need the power for the end of, like, to end the game that turn. That's like the only situation you're going to use Cool the Weak. For me, it's definitely not Microbot Guard. I mean, there are those situations where you can play Zapbot into Microbot Guard and you have to destroy the Microbot Guard you just played. That's how bad the card can be. But at least Microbot Guard's in a faction where you can actually realistically play 3, 4, 5 minions and destroy something of your opponent's of that lower power. So it does have some uses, and I actually think it's worse than Gnome from Tricksters, which does the same thing, but it's a power 3 minion, which is even worse. But yeah, for me, it's Call of the Week just because it's limited to one use case, which is the end of the game. And vampires, how often are you in a situation where you're about to win the game? Like, that situation just almost never occurs with any vampire pairing. So, Call of the Week is so niche even in vampires. So yeah, for me,
I'm playing vampires. When we get together on the 31st, I'm playing vampires.
You're gonna get 10 minutes in and go, why did I?
What we should do is just using our lists of the cards we put in as the 20 worst, just make that each of us make that faction. Because I think there's probably roughly even split of minions and minions and actions in that list.
That is gross. That is real gross.
I've checked on Angry Mob. You do put them to the bottom of your deck.
Bottom of the deck, right? Yeah, it's Bulking Stew, I think, is discarded. But there are some, bottom of the deck is arguably much better than discarding them. So, it's an even better card, I think. Okay, final pairing, and then we'll probably go to the next meeting. Anyone got a favourite here?
Yes.
Just go on.
Counting Sheep absolutely stinks. It is terrible. Laser Tops, okay, you're going to get your Power 4 minion. You don't have the choice, which we've talked about with the Microbot Guard. But Counting Sheep is awful. If another player's minion's power increases, your minions here gain +1 until the end of the turn, right? So the only way this can make sense is if your opponent isn't paying attention, increases the power of its minions, happens to increase the power of your minions enough to break the base. If not, it's gone. It just goes. So, and you're not going to increase another player's minion on your turn to gain the power on your turn when it actually might be useful. So it doesn't make any sense at all. It's just you're just going to be constantly, and one of my annoyances of this game is if when, like the Stegosaurus in Dinosaurs, where you constantly just putting 2 power on, off and on, because it goes up and down.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. There's no way you're going to let me just ignore that because it doesn't affect the game. You're going to put the power counters on, and then at the end of the turn, you can take them back off again, and just let me just put those counters on again, just in case.
No,
So what this allows you to do, what this allows your opponent to do, is manipulate how much power you're adding to the base on its turn by raising its own power. So he's not going to do it if it's not worth it for him or her, but you're basically going to give them a leg up to help break the base. And it's so bad. It's so bad.
It's completely out of your control. They can, and there are factions, you can come up against pairings where they have no way of increasing the power of their minions. So Counting Sheep against those factions is literally a dead card, because they have no way of increasing their power and you can't do anything about it. So it will just do nothing. It will just sit there and do nothing. I'm gonna say Laser Tops, and I'm gonna let Lee make the decision here, because in a card game like Smash Up, you can forgive power creep. So in future expansions, when older cards in the game, they get power crept slightly because they like to increase the power of the game. But Laser Tops has power crept twice in the same expansion. That's how unforgiving and how bad Laser Tops is. Like, you can forgive the Kung Fu Fighters. Their power for Lady Whirlwind is a better version of Laser Tops, but that was sort of 7 expansions down the line. Whereas Laser Tops is worse than Saucy Wench in Pirates and worse than Tiger Assassin in Ninjas. Like, it's just completely unforgivable how bad this card is as a power 4. And you compare it to things like Invader, Gravedigger, Tiger Assassin, other decent power fours, even in the core set. And Laser Tops is just dreadful. Like, it really is. This card should have just been a blank power 5, and that would have been quite thematic with dinosaurs. But it's not even optional. It's so weak. There's so few decent power 2 or less minions that you want to be targeting with this. So I'm going to go Laser Tops. I mean, you mentioned all the bad things about Counting Sheep. I'll just go Laser Tops to give Laser Tops some airtime as well, and then we'll let Lee decide.
Do you know, it is really interesting because I was, again, both eloquently argued terrible cards. And I was literally sat there thinking, just before Mark said it, I was sat there thinking there is a scenario where Counting Sheep actually literally just
can do nothing.
Does nothing. But I'm not forgiving a power form when we have been looking at things like Caparoha, power 4 minions that we have been talking about being the best cards in the game, and you see something like this where you are forced potentially to even destroy your own War Raptor in some cases. Would it affect the War Raptor?
No, War Raptor comes in at power 3. Yeah, it comes in at 3.
But still, where you are potentially forced, you could be forced to destroy your own Pupox. Imagine if you were playing that down. That is a scenario that is just frankly unforgivable. I'm giving my vote to both cards are awful, and I was gonna go with Counting Sheep, but I'm sorry, you can't forgive Laser Tops. It is just appallingly bad as a power 4 minion. Just exactly as you were saying it, Mark, I just thought to myself, level 5, if it was blank, it would just be in keeping with the rest of the dinosaurs. And then you said the same thing, and I was like, yeah, that is exactly what it should have been. It should have been that, and it's unforgivably bad that it isn't. And it's interesting because it's still a power 4. It's still a power 4 at the end of the day, and that's actually not a bad thing. And I have played Mythic Horses Dinos, which is quite a nice little combo to play if you're looking for something to try to get dinosaurs out of the box a bit, because they get a bit sad and lonely while they're left in there all the time. So Mythic Horses Dinos are an interesting combo if you're looking at trying to play one. But even Laser Touch, it doesn't do anything. It just does it. All it does is kills your own power 2 minion, because inevitably that's the only power 2 minion that's on there, and you don't get a choice to not destroy it. You are forced to destroy that power 2 minion, which could be sad. It might be good if it's Pupox, to be fair. But yeah, even though Counting Sheep does nothing, it doesn't negate you in some way, and Laser Tops has the potential to do that, which is why Laser Tops is getting my vote.
Yeah, Laser Tops is bad because it should be so much better, whereas it has uses, but it should be a lot better than it is. Whereas Counting Sheep is just horrendous. But
I think you captioned it really well earlier on, where you said it's the offense it's caused is that it's wasted a power 4 slot. Yeah. It's bad, but the worst part of it is you don't see the damage it's done to the rest of the faction as a result of how bad it actually is.
As you say, we've had Solar Shout, we've had Wayfinder, Caparoha, Invader is in the power 4 slot as well. So you've got some incredibly strong power 4 minions that are better. Wyvern for the dragons as well, that are better than some King minions.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. Felicia Day.
No, really. Felicia Day.
They're still power 4. They're still power 4.
Yeah, Laser Tops would be near the bottom, if not the last, the bottom card on a weakest power 4 minion list. Maybe Brownie, as you say, Lee, might be there or thereabouts with it, but yeah, it's horrendous.
The only counterpoint I'll make for Laser Tops is that you can choose to play it on a base where there is no power 2 minion of your own.
Yeah, you're having to actively avoid playing it on it.
It's still bad dog. It's still bad dog.
Yeah, you're not saying it's a good card.
Yeah, anything that can potentially destroy your own first mate by accident is terrible. So
imagine the scenes.
It's still not good, but you have to play around it rather than walk into your own destruction.
Imagine a situation though where you use Pupox's talent to find Laser Tops, play it to destroy the Pupox.
I mean, that's probably worth it.
Yeah.
But then how will you lose another VP the next turn? How will you be able to lose the second VP?
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's true.
You don't want to get it off the field.
We'll go to the next meeting. We've got the first quarterfinal, and it's our friend Pupox against Smoke Bomb. I think this is really tough, to be honest. I don't think this is as clear.
I think this is a really, really tough across the board.
Any
of these 4 cards.
This is the closest final we've had in ages.
It's kind of the argument here is: do you want a card that basically is blank, does literally nothing, or do you want a card that is bad if you choose to use it, but you can choose not to use it? It's really difficult, really, because it's how you categorize it. If it's so tough. The smoke bomb would be fine if it didn't expire. It'd just be tooth claws and guns or whatever it was called, and that's still bad, but it's not as bad as literally having to get rid of it. The only time you'd ever play smoke bomb is if you wanted to save all your actions. You'd played your minion, you had nothing else to do, and you want to just get this card out of your hand. Just put it down, because all your opponent's going to do is wait till next turn and do whatever they were going to do to you. So there's a very small window for this to have any value at all. But there is a way that you could sort of use Pupox for a positive. If you'd got it and you'd used your Manners bot to have a look, or your what's the Power 5 Astronaut or whatever she's called.
Yeah, Astronaut.
If you'd used hers to see what cards were there, and there was the game-winning card in your hand on the top 3, if that situation happened and you've seen it and you've done what you need to do, then maybe there's a positive there. But just on the face of it, it's just so bad.
We don't play with handwritten cards, though, do we? So it wouldn't just say Luke is the winner in it. You can find that card under there. There is no scenario.
It's weird. It's weird. I'd voted for that for the best card in Smash Up.
I thought you'd still go for Body Shop, to be fair.
Oh yeah, that is better. What's better than winning the game? Breaking and winning the game with the first mate flying around.
Oh, freaking hell!
Because there's no like Pupox is you can't play it really late in the game, and you can't play it straight away because you have to lose a VP, and losing a VP towards the end of the game is too precious to lose. Like no matter what cards there are on the top of the deck. What did you say? Sorry,
I'll jump in while he's frozen. It would be interesting if you could play it when you had 0 VP to stay at 0 VP.
I was going to ask that question. I actually don't know the answer. Do you go negative in victory points?
Let me know when I'm back.
I just think you can't use it if you can't lose one.
Let me know when I'm back. Can you,
you're
back.
Right,
cool.
Yeah.
What I was saying, sorry, is I don't know where I got to, but Pupox you can't use at the start of the game, and you can't use it towards the end of the game, like because VP is way too precious when you're getting towards the sort of 11, 12, even like 10, even 8+ sort of timing. There's like a small window where you can use Pupox, where let's just say, for instance, you come second on a ninja base and you've got a 1 VP advantage, and you can afford to maybe use a VP to get some card draw. Or if you're in the kind of 3, 4, 5 VP range where it's early enough in the game that you feel you can come back from losing a VP. But when you look at Pupox, you're so unlikely to ever use that talent. Even in those situations where you can maybe afford to, the price is just far too heavy. It should have just been, lose a VP, search your deck for 3 cards, add them to, reveal them, play 1, add the other 2 to your hand. That might have been better because you can pick out any 3 pieces, but because it's so random as well, you might Pupox into just garbage basically, and then you've wasted a VP for it.
I mean, at least one of the benefits of using the Pupox talent is that at least you can't draw another Pupox. Oh wait.
Well, I would take the Orc Power 4, actually Power 5 talent over Pupox talent, which is just do nothing. Like that is a better talent than Pupox, I would say. It's so unlikely that you'll ever use it. But as I say, there is maybe a small window where you could get away with using Pupox if you really needed to dig for something or set up a big play. You could maybe justify it, but I think the price is just still too heavy.
If you've got to be Pupox when we get together, honestly, I'm going to be so disappointed in you.
It's got to be a desperation play. It absolutely has to be. Your opponent's winning the game on your very next turn. Can you pull enough out to win the base? It is a desperation play. And I'd like to see the desperation play that maybe 1 in 100 times it actually comes off. The desperation play plays out. You get what you need. You can play an extra whatever and maybe take it. But
I don't think your odds are high enough. 1 in 100.
I think it's it's very tough for me. It's 2 very different versions of bad, and I'm struggling with that.
That's true. That's true. For me, it's Pupox. I'm looking at the two of them, and I'm thinking to myself, Smoke Bomb's bad. It's a bad card, right? There is no getting away from that. But Pupox is offensively bad. It's an offensively bad card, and this is we're talking about the laser tops sort of feeling from before. I mean, look at there's some other decent power 2 minions in the game that we could use, and you're wasting one of your filler cards, one of your bulk like play down and go cards, mimics, that sort of stuff. They're good cards that are able to fulfill a decent purpose. All right, they might, they're not game breaking, they're not brilliant, but look at something like the groupies, for example, that they've got a purpose. They actually synergize with the fact it's just offensively bad.
That's
no,
the thing,
it's Pupox.
For me, Pupox gets away with it slightly more than Laser Tops, because Laser Tops should be a lot better than it is for Power 4, whereas Power 2, a blank Power 2, that wouldn't be that horrendous, because it's not too... Power 2 minion abilities generally aren't that great. They're just maybe a little bit of smooth. They help the engine of your faction go a little bit smoother. There's only really like First Mate that's the exception to the general rule. Whereas
Tenacious Z?
Yeah, but that's in the Power 3 slot, so it's not technically, although it is a Power 2, it's not technically filling the same slot as Pupox. So for me, it could be blank, and it would be the worst Power 2 minion in the game, but it wouldn't be too far off what you'd expect from a Power 2, whereas for Laser Tops as a Power 4, it's horrendously bad. The gap between that and some of the other Power 4s is so huge, whereas Pupox, it's a little bit smaller. So for me, I would go for... As much as I don't like Pupox, I think I would have to go Smoke Bomb, because ninjas as well, you've got to bear in mind they've got no draw. So at some point in the game, you're going to draw Smoke Bomb, and you're going to be really sad, because half your draw was just into Smoke Bomb, which is just horrendous. And it's just so dreadful. It really is. It does so little. And you have to know the turn that you want to use it is going to be the turn that they're going to target you with something. And similar to Counting Sheep, they may have no way of targeting you with actions. So, it may just be a wasted card anyway. So for me, as bad as Pupox is, I don't think it's the gap between that and First Mate, which I was saying is the best Power 2 minion in the game, isn't as big as the gap between Laser Tops and something like Caparoha or Wayfinder or Invader. So for me, it's Smoke Bomb. It's your call, Luke.
I really didn't want to have to make the decision on this.
They're both horrendous. Really are bad.
I think Smoke Bomb is fantastically bad in terms of it provides so little. But I'm going to give it to Pupox because somebody has sat and written that and gone, this is fine. And gone, this is a good idea. So while Smoke Bomb could easily have been the worst card in Smash Up because it is a dead card, the design of Pupox, I know you can choose how to use it, but it is offensively bad in terms of what it offers. So I'm giving it to Pupox.
Do you reckon when they went through playtesting, it was just like an in-joke between the playtesters that they're all submitting data that Pupox is really good and we've all used Pupox and it's horrendously strong and like all that sort of stuff. They're just trolling the Paul Peterson, and then it's just horrendously bad.
There must be some Star Wars fan within that hates Ewoks and just wanted to see them just be absolutely ridiculed in some way. That must be the inside joke. There must be some sort of theme that I'm missing, that some sort of trade. I don't know, but there must be some reason why that is the way it is.
Right. Well,
when we were looking at the Star Trek one, that is a thematic.
That's thematic, entirely thematic. Yeah. There's quite a few, like Counting Sheep is similar as well.
Yeah.
You can tell they've come up. There's a lot of the sheep cards actually. You can tell where they've just gone, Counting Sheep, Hello Dolly, Sheer, all these sort of sheep-related names, and they've just gone, we've got a whole lot of sheep-related thematic names. How can we create card abilities? That's all they've
got
done.
all the puns.
Yeah. So
So I bet there's some secret reason behind Pewbox, but
If you know, please leave it in the comment section because I'd be curious to find
or
out.
if you've got a theory.
Oh, that'd be great as well. Yeah, stick a theory down there.
Okay, on the other side, we've got Call of the Week and Laser Tops, two, also very weak cards. Who wants to kick us off on this one?
I'll go first on this one. We've talked at length about how offensive the Laser Tops is and the gap between it, and that's what made me give it to Laser Tops in the last round. So I'd be daft if I changed my mind, except I'm going to change my mind and I'm going to go with Colour of the Week for this particular one. And the reason for that is it's just so bad. It's just so incredibly useless. I think it was Luke that said, in what universe is discarding a minion better than playing it for more than one power counter? All right, I get that there's a scenario where you've got somehow, with your complete lack of draw and your awful vampire minions, you've somehow got a handful of minion cards, and you need somehow to win a base to be able to progress. What's the most you can discard? What is it? 10? What are the chances?
Yeah. You can
9, wouldn't it? Because
in theory, you can discard more than 10. It would require unusual setup.
Let's say
you could discard more than 10.
The best case scenario is a +9 because you'd need that card to be able to do it. And we're already talking about a ridiculous hypothetical. What realistically, what are you looking at? 3, 4 as a maximum? I mean, there's actual cards that just give you like +3, +4, +5. You're talking about some of the more adventurous but the better power gainers within the various different factions. But this card is just offensively bad. Again, this card should be better. Why can I not target some actions as well? Why am I getting +1? I'm sure there's other cards that does the same thing where you get +2 instead of the +1. Just why is it so bad? I'm annoyed that they've ruined the vampires as much as they did because they can't really redo them. And I think for the reason that I get so unbelievably annoyed when I'm looking at how stupid this card is, that's why that card is going to go through.
It's not. I suppose it's not really comparable, but there's the Halflings card, which lets you can play all the minions from your hand rather than this, for instance, which is discarding them all from hand. I can't remember what it's called.
Is it Lunch Run?
Lunch Run,
it's the with the wolf on where he's awake.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rude Awakening. That's it.
Rude Awakening, yeah.
So you compare that to this, where you can actually, rather than discard all your minions, you just play them all. It's such a difference. I suppose it's not really comparable because that one's such a great card.
That's where they went wrong. Yeah, that's where they were. I forgot to make this a really good card.
But yeah, you're right, and this one's a tough one for me because I think Laser Tops is offensively bad in its position. But so is Call of the Week, really. I mean, you can never play Call of the Week. Call of the Week is one of those cards where you can only really play it because vampires don't even have that great minion recovery. So you're discarding them and then they're pretty much gone until you can draw through your deck again.
Which will never happen because you've basically got no draw.
And you want to destroy them with your heavy drinkers. You want to play them and then destroy them with your heavy drinkers.
Yeah. So I think for being so dreadful, and it's similar to Smoke Bomb for me in that actually I think Smoke Bomb had slightly more use than Call of the Week. I think Call of the Week is worse than Smoke Bomb. So
I agree.
I think I'm going to have to give it to Call of the Week, but Laser Tops, is just horrendous as well. It's just so bad. Luke, you haven't mentioned anything yet on these.
Make that 3 for Call of the Week.
3 for Call of the Week. So bad.
And here we have it, the final. So
the one that they've all been waiting for.
Yes.
The Battle of the Minions.
It'd be interesting if this gets more viewers than the final one. If the worst card gets more viewers than the best card.
It would have been
I'll be
interesting actually
honest.
to poll. We should have maybe community polled,
We
see
should
what
have
people
actually.
think is the worst card in Smash Up. But,
Well, why don't we community poll it and then post the video?
Ooh.
because we've already got the one community poll out at the minute on the Champion of Champions next round.
Yeah.
So I don't want too many floating around. We've got 48 responses on that so far, so it's doing pretty
nice.
well.
Nice.
And there's some really, really interesting results coming through as well from the community voting.
Do you know what
Okay.
I was looking at and I know we've gone off topic a little bit, but I was looking at our best cards list, and I was looking at the ones that that you, because I didn't vote for really any of them that have got through, that you lot have put through into the next round, and I just keep thinking I don't want any of them to be there. I genuinely, I'm so disappointed in our best cards list. I don't want any of them to be there.
The problem is that want and deserve are very different. I think if I was picking my top list, if we were picking our own top list, no limitations, don't have to come from every set, all that stuff. It'd be a very different list. We'd pick cards we like and we enjoy playing with.
Yeah.
But the all that really matters is which one of these cards is the best one, because we've said before, if it doesn't win, then it's not the best card in Smash Up. So it's basically irrelevant to that extent, because there's some good cards we've already ruled out that could have, like when we looked through the second runners up, that could have easily been in the final if they win a different expansion.
Could have been. You'd look at stuff like Eliza's there. It's just disgusting.
I know. It's fodder.
He's just chuff. I'd cull it.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I'd rather get one power out of her than play it out.
Right.
I don't know what we do about this final.
Well,
it's so disgusting. I don't even know where to start.
Shall I start? Because I kind of have a leaning towards one of them.
Go on.
I don't. I'm going to struggle.
I'm leaning more towards Call of the Week here. And the reason being is that, as I mentioned in the last round, Pupox for me, the talent is horrendous. Like it's unusable talent. That's how bad. However,
you were telling us before you were going to use it loads in the mid game. That's what you were telling us before, mate.
The only situation I would ever play it would be, as I say, if it was Astronite Aliens and I was on 14 VP and I needed to hit both invaders to win. That would be the only time I would ever consider playing it. But even as a blank power 2, as I was saying in the last round, even a blank power 2 isn't too far off some other power 2s. So some other power 2s might be, +1 power count, or it might be, if there's something here, you draw a card. It's not horrendously far off. Whereas for me, Call of the Week it's your finishing action. It's like your action it's the action in the vampires that's the equivalent action of other cards in other factions, like Body Shop or Angry Mob or Bulking Stew and other cards like that, which are your finishing actions, like Unity of the Tribes and other cards across loads of factions. As Luke was saying, have these interchangeable cards which are finishing cards. And Call of the Week is supposed to be the vampire's big sort of finish, where you get to discard a load of cards, give a minion, 5, 6, 7 power and break a base and win the game. But it's so unplayable. You can only ever play it in that situation where you're going to win the game. And in the faction it's in, you're already at such a significant disadvantage. You'll almost never get to that point where you're about to win the game. And you can't play it any other time, because playing a minion is always better than discarding it for +1 power, unless the minion is 1 power or less, which is also very unlikely to happen. So yeah, Call of the Week is quite simply unplayable. It's just offensively bad in a faction that has very little minion recovery. It has very little chance of winning the game, and it just has very little going for it. And this card just really doesn't bring anything to the table. Whereas Pupox, as I say, dreadful card, but at least it's not too, as a blank power 2, it's not too far away.
That's interesting. It's interesting actually, because you've actually made me think Colour Week is slightly, with that argument, slightly better than I previously had it.
You think it's better now?
Yeah, because you've just presented a situation where you could use it. You don't have an extra minion plays left. You need to get additional 4 power just to win the game. your all or nothing play. Both of these cards, if you are desperate in the right situation, have a desperation Hail Mary sort of effect to them. You, if you need 4 more power and you don't have any extra minion plays or extra action plays, you could, in theory, just bin your whatever.
You won't have any minions. You won't have any minions. It's the vampires.
Bin whatever is
You've
in your
already
hand.
drank them all. You've already drank them all, mate.
Whatever, just bin as many minions as you can to try and to nick the base and win the game. So it's the worst version of the finishing cards that exist. Oh, but maybe it's slightly better than Pupox.
Thing is
it better?
Carry on, you can actually choose 0 as a number, so you can play Call the Week to discard 0 minions and just discard it for nothing. Like 0 is a targetable number for Call the Week.
Correct.
If you really wants to play it for nothing.
that sounds really good.
Actually, play it to trick. Well, in that situation, right? If you've got Odysseus on the field and you needed an action play to trigger the power counter, you could play. And Call the Week was your only card in hand. You could play Call the Week to discard 0 minions, and Odysseus would get +1 counter, and you can win the game that way. So it has that niche situation going for it as well.
As if there is an option in the game where you'd be playing your finishing card, your arguably the card that smashes your faction, and there is a scenario where you played it for 0 power. Jesus. Honestly, I don't know which of the cards is worse. They're both awful. I'm right. Okay, I'm just looking at it on face value. I've refused to accept this all night because I'm so offended by reading the fact that it's a talent. The fact that it's a talent.
You might want to use it more than once.
Well, at least I suppose it's not activated on play. You know, if it said you must lose, that would be worse, wouldn't it?
It's it would be unplayable if that was the case. At
some point, Pupox is worth 2 power, and Call the Week is going to struggle to get 2 minions to this. I mean, there's an abundance of minions you're going to want to chuck away, being the vampires, but presumably you'll want to actually play something down. I mean, in that scenario, you'd need to cut 2 minions to equal the power of Pupox. That's how bad Call the Week is, in my opinion.
Well, you could play Call the Week to discard 8 minions from your hand, give a minion +8 power, and then play Heavy Drinker to destroy that minion and gain +1 power counter. You know, you could in theory do that as well. that is a line of play you can make.
It's just so bad. You would have to have 9 minions in your hand, though, there, Mark, and one of them would have to be a Heavy Drinker. So I mean, you're being a bit unrealistic as far as I'm concerned. I think it's Call the Week. I think it's Call the Week. Or I also think it's Pupox. So
I think at this stage we can say we have the worst minion and the worst action in the game. So we've narrowed it down to one of each. We now need to decide which is the worst, which takes the crown.
Are you telling me we're calling this a draw?
No. I'm still saying
is that what you're telling me?
No. He's saying
we could call this a draw.
No, we can't.
We could call it a draw. Then.
We have argued over strong cards and come down on one side. We have to argue.
We could call it a draw and let the community decide the winner.
Ooh, you could poll it. Do a little YouTube poll underneath the video.
No, we still need to come down one side or the other. I'll let them agree or disagree with us on which of these.
Doesn't sound like a man of the people to me.
Does it? You know what? I'll tell you why he can't decide, Lou, because he doesn't have their answers in front of him.
Doesn't have their previous answers already.
That's how he can't decide.
I'm gonna go for Pupox.
Yeah, I'm torn. I'm so torn.
The principle of it. Well, you do have both of them have basically very little uses. The fact that they thought this was a good idea to print this card is hugely incorrect. At least Call the Week can just be a bad version of what it's trying to do. But the theory behind Pupox was I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. So I'm going for Pupox.
It's the only card in the game that uses victory points as a sort of resource. It's the only card that does it. all the other cards gain VP rather than losing them.
I think they were so terrified to make that a broken card that they made it the worst card in the game. I think they were so nervous about that, manipulating the concept of losing VP after how good gaining VP is. I think they were so nervous about it that they accidentally made the worst card in Smash Up.
You know, before we started filming, and I was looking through the list, and I remember when you suggested that we make a worst card in Smash Up list, I knew that the card at the top of my list was Pupox. And you know, as bad as all of the other cards in this thing are, and they are some real stinkers in this list, Color Week being one of them, I think I have to agree with Luke. I think Pupox is the worst card in Smash Up. It is worth 2 power, but it's offensively bad, and it just can't be forgiven.
Is that what you said, Luke? I don't think you said anything yet, have you?
Yeah. I said
you said Pupox, did you? Right.
Yeah. It's offensive. The concept of it is offensive. Although someone did post in the Smash Up group that they used Pupox for like a positive gain recently.
Yeah, I didn't believe that.
Who that was. Yeah,
I didn't believe that at all.
Sounds like propaganda for this video to me. pre worst card in the game Smash Up propaganda. Some sort of vampire agenda for the winner.
I might have to change my thumbnail now. I'd already made the thumbnail for this video, and it's just like loads and loads of Pupox cards. So I might have to change that now to something different to not give the game away. I'll just keep it. Never mind. I'll just keep it at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
people know. People know it's coming.
People might have been expecting it. I'm not gonna lie.
Why can't we do some faces for the Pupox cards?
Oh, I mean that one there. Look at this guy. This one here. That one looks like it's a cartoon dog or something. I can't remember what it's called. It's like it looks similar to that, like Poochie from The Simpsons.
Yeah, does look a little bit Poochie-esque.
So that's it. We have a winner. And
why have they got boobs? Why have they got boobs?
Do they?
Because they're giving up VP.
Well, they look like boobs.
I don't know. Well, we've got it. We have a winner for the worst card in Smash Up, which we think is Pupox, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. And I know there'll be quite a lot of agreement with the cards that we've shortlisted, as well as some that didn't make it. But realistically, whatever didn't make it, was it beating Pupox? That's the question you have to ask, and I think it's possibly unlikely that it would be beating it. As I mentioned,
I love that. I think we've got to the 2 worst cards. They are the 2 worst cards in Smash Up. As far, yeah, I mean, and you said it yourself. That is the worst action and the worst minion by miles. And I won't accept anyone that says, "Oh, you can just play it for just 2 power, so it's still got some." No, look at the printing. It's offensive. It's offensively bad. I don't want to see it on the field.
Imagine a new player reading that. Oh, this looks interesting. BP. Oh God. Oh God, it's awful.
Well, I think you can potentially play it on. You can potentially play it on Standing Stones, the Werewolf base, to use the talent twice, and then maybe play the Werewolf Titan to play it a 3rd time. I think you can maybe get 3 users of the talent in one turn, if that's what it says. But yeah, we've ended up with the winner here, and as we mentioned partway through, we've got the community survey out at the minute for the quarterfinals and semi-final and final for Champion of Champions, which we'll be doing next week. So you'll see that next week. But with that being said, have you got anything else you want to mention, or we wrap up now?
No, if you have any suggestions of cards that we missed that would have won this week, we did all have the longest shortlist we've ever produced.
Big shortlist, yeah.
If you have suggestions of what you think is an out-and-out card to take on Pupox, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks very much for
like and subscribe.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week for the final. We're going to have the opposite of Pupox. We're going to have the best card in Smash Up, which I think is going to be a much more difficult task to try and reach a conclusion on.
Honestly, looking at the list, I might get confused. I might still think when we're talking about Eliza that we're still talking about the worst card in Smash Up list. So flashbacks,
I'll edit that out. We ended it a couple of seconds ago before you said that. All right. Well, thanks very much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.